Welcome to the Books and Music Review Show. Welcome to the Books and Music Review Show. And we have Gerard as a guest in the studio today. Go for it, Gerard.
Oh, thank you for that great introduction. Well, today I thought I'd talk a little bit about New York City, and since we were really in the going charging hard into winter, today was one of the coldest days that I remember of the season. So we're in fall and we're going to winter. So I thought I'd talk about one of the great things about New York City, which is all of the festivals and parades and and events that happen during the summer and in the warmer months. And I thought I'd start by showing a few slides, some pictures from the Memorial Day parade in Brooklyn. And for those of you who aren't aware, the Memorial Day Parade in Bay Ridge has been going on for about 150 years, approximately, and it's sponsored by Catholic war veterans and service organizations. And I'm not sure if you see them in these slides, but you will see some ambulances and fire department insignia and different community groups that were involved in sponsoring and helping this parade. So the first slide is a small group of Korean War veterans, and you see them every year. This is from 2011, and the Korean War vets, they always come, although fewer in number, unfortunately, but they're always there towards the front of the parade, and representing the men and women who didn't come back from that brutal 3-year conflict. The American Legion is also well represented. For those of you might know about the American Legion, they're a huge service organization representing veterans. Anyone who's served in active duty and was honorably discharged is able to participate. And here's another American Legion hosts, two women veterans representing. You can see it in the picture. And one of the interesting things about this parade were all of the amazing classic automobiles, all the cars. There were hot rods and I think even a Rolls Royce. And these are just a few of the really colorful cars that were on display over the course of the parade, which I think it went about 20 blocks through Bay Ridge all the way up to John Paul Jones Park. So you see, here are just a few of them. And also military vehicles, jeeps, and armored personnel carriers. I think this is the Mapleton representing, as I said, the service organization. So that you have the Kiwanis, and over here you can just see a few of the badges on the back of the Jeep. Stretch armors with the Marine Corps flag. Nice futuristic car over there. Like I said, this was one of the attractions of the really beautiful classic cars. Checkers, just all sorts of great great vehicles. And there were also representatives from Fort Hamilton High School. Fort Hamilton is one of the, I think it's the only active duty, it's the only active military base in New York City. And Fort Hamilton actually has a junior ROTC program which trains students. So you had a lot of the Fort Hamilton students, the drum or the marching band. You can see people on the drums and tuba, two players walking down the street, and there's also there are also student scouts from around the borough, and that's the first part of the slideshow, and this is the second. You just wait a moment. As I said, there were students from Fort Hamilton High School, and also, and the parade actually ended at John Paul Jones Park. So as you can see this is the Rodman gun, a 20-inch artillery piece that was created by Thomas Jackson, general during the Civil War. So there are a lot of historic markers in the park, including the Dover. Where is it? You can see a lot of people enjoyed that. The Dover War Memorial. Now, this was a memorial commemorating the Dover, the Royal Navy command called the Dover Patrol from England, and it was given to the United States. It was given to the United States by Sir Ashton Webb, who was an architect who designed the facade of Buckingham Palace. So it was given to the United States after World War II and dedicated to a patrol that helped intercept German shipping during that period as a sign of comradeship between the U.S. and Great Britain. And it's a tribute to the two navies. There's also a monument in Dover, England itself. So after the participants arrived in John Paul Jones Park, they had a program featuring different speakers commemorating the service of various branches of the armed forces, including the Navy. As you can see, some Marines over there as well, and all the branches were represented. I remember standing next to a veteran from the Vietnam War who was scarred, and listening as different speakers and different politicians and members of the military gave tribute to their service and to the service of sailors and members of the U.S. military who hadn't made it back. There was also a lot of cool support, organizations supporting veterans and people who are still serving in the military, including a woman who had set up a group called Hockey Players Support the Troops. She was selling patches to benefit troops serving overseas. And the Wounded Warrior Project, which was initially was designed to help veterans who had been wounded and who were hospitalized get back, return to civilian life. And it's been around for the past, I would say, 14 years, approximately. So there are also a lot of really fun activities in New York City that happen during the summer. One of the wonderful parts of Brooklyn, while we're still in the borough, is Coney Island. So, just like to show you a few slides of a trip to Coney Island I made a few years ago. Now, the first thing you notice when you go to Coney Island is the artwork, because there's a lot of really creative, very, very cool artwork in Coney Island, including this great mural of a girl sipping a glass of what looks like water, and she's immersed in water, surrounded by the sea, different forms of aquatic life. And this is another really cool piece of artwork that was commissioned by New York City. It was apparently it was by an artist named Robert Wilson, and it's called My Coney Island Baby. So, which is based on a song by a popular barbershop group from the 1920s, and it's one of the things you see when you get off at the Stillwell station right before you actually go to Coney Island, the park. And there's so many cool things about that part of the borough. You have the auto. You have so many different arcades and fun games. Even though Coney Island, it's not quite up to the standard of Coney Island during its heyday before the fires, and when it was really a central part of the city. It's never really reclaimed that kind of mystique, but there's still a lot of really fun things to do for people, for kids and for families that don't have the resources to go on to leave New York and go on expensive vacations. So you have things like the Wonder Wheel, and things like the Wonder Wheel and the parachute drop, which should be around here. You have all sorts of amusements. And of course, you have the Cyclone, which is the iconic part of Coney Island. I remember when I first went on the Cyclone with my father, and it was kind of horrifying because you have you have this rickety wooden cyclone that's existed for 80 something or years or 70 years or however long it's been around, and it feels like when you're dropping, it almost feels like you're going to fall out of you're going to fall out. It just feels so ancient as you're on it, but it's thrilling. It's a thrilling ride. And the parachute drop, you can see it in this photo, the top of it at least, which hasn't been in operation for years, for many years, but even though it was renovated in the mid '60s. And another great thing about Coney Island is the hot dog eating contest. Although I'm not sure everyone would think of it as a crowning achievement, the ability to eat, to watch people shove 70 hot dogs into their mouths in 10 minutes. But that's another quirky aspect of the neighborhood, the ability to go down there on July 4th on Independence Day and watch Takeru Kobayashi or Joey Chestnut just essentially be a trash compactor for hot dogs. Even if you don't like that, the idea of having a hot dog or fries or classic fries at Nathan's is really it's quintessentially New York. It's something even people who are tourists here should have to try out at least once. And another thing about Coney Island is the sideshow, which is kind of controversial, but it's also a unique aspect of this city. And of course, MCU Park, which is where I took in a Cyclones game with my mother years ago, which was really fun to get to see amateur players before they get called up to the major leagues, to get to see them try out, interact with the fans. This is a statue of Jackie Robinson and Pee Wee Reese. I think the story is apocryphal. I'm not sure it actually happened this way, but this commemorates a moment where Jackie was kind of brought into the New York Dodgers as the first Negro, the first player from the Negro Leagues to be brought up into the major leagues and break the color barrier. And he faced hatred and opposition even from his own team, and Pee Wee Reese was one of the players who reached out to him and embraced him. And there's a statue of the two right outside of the park before you go in. And this is the Great Irish Fair. This is something that's been happening for years in New York City, and it originally was held outdoors in Coney Island. Since then it's moved to the Ford Amphitheater, but it's an event that's held every year. You get to see classic Irish folk music. You see Irish step dancers. That's the main attraction. Occasionally they'll have a famous band like the Wolf Tones or Black 47 perform to headline the event. But even when they don't, you still get a lot of really, really talented entertainers. If you're into if you're into Irish music, and even if you're not, there's still a lot of attractions there. And one of the things it does is raise money for Catholic schools. There's a petition. You see these every year. There's a petition to beatify the Irish hunger martyrs, the people in Ireland that died of starvation from 1847 to 1850 or so because of the Irish potato famine. And there's a banner from the Knights of Columbus. There's also attractions for kids, amusement, since it's Coney Island, of course. So they have rides that people can enjoy. This was a series of photos of FDNY and NYPD, and I think Port Authority officers who were lost on September 11th. And it has Play Like a Champion Today, which is the sign Notre Dame uses to inspire their players. Usually, I don't know how many of you watch football, but during Notre Dame, or right before Notre Dame takes on their opponent, you have the players go down the stairway and slap that motto right before they go onto the field. And here's one of the mascots. That's something else. There were a couple of mascots that were from local high schools. I'm not sure. Cardinal and a panda and a shy panda, which people enjoyed. And like I said, most of the main attraction is usually the music, the bands, and the musicians, and it's very much a participatory kind of thing. People bring their families, and they go up there, and they learn how to dance, how to do Irish step dancing, or just watch as people try to have fun. There's fiddlers, little boy enjoying himself. So yeah, it's kind of a fun event, even if you're not Irish or not Catholic. You can go there and listen to some entertaining music and learn a little bit about Irish culture. And one of the something else that's kind of interesting is hold on for a second. Something else that's interesting is the Queens County Farm. It's one of the I think it's the oldest active farm in New York City. Or yeah, it's the largest undisturbed tract of farmland in New York City, and it's been around since the 17th century, the end of the 17th century. Now, it was originally a private farm owned by a Dutch family, but it has buildings from 3 different centuries. It has animals, working animals, and I'm just going to show you a few pictures from the Queens County Farm. In particular, an event they hold every year called they hold an intertribal powwow. Hold on. Now, as you can see, this is they have all sorts of farm animals: chickens, roosters, they have, hold on. They have, you can actually volunteer to help help with the farm. As you can see, they have beautiful flowers. They have cows and calves, of course. And they had I went there recently with my mother, and they even have worms you can bring back. You can, if you like to compost, they can help you with that. It's really a really kind of amazing, kind of an amazing resource in New York City. And they hold all sorts of events. We went to the Queens County Fair, but they also hold events like the intertribal powwow with the Thunderbird American Indian dancers. This is the oldest Native American dance company in New York. It's been around since the early 60s. The founders, the people who founded it, were American Indians who had parents who were born on Indian reservations, so they were the first generation born outside of reservations. And the powwow has 40 different nations represented. So I'm just going to show you a couple of photos from the powwow. As I said they had 40 different nations. So they had the Lakota Sioux. They also had different organizations representing groups that help the Native American community. And one of the main events during the course of the weekend was dance. The different dancers, hoop dancers, which you can see over here. One of the hoop dancers were primarily, or traditionally, it's a male-dominated activity, but recently women have made inroads. So they had some champion hoop dancers who were female. And like I said, it's a really cool event. If you ever have the chance to check it out yourself, I would definitely look into the Queens County Farm Museum. They have events. These
1 minute 30 seconds.
These events take place during the summer, but you can look to find activities that you might want to participate in. Like I said, New York City is really an amazing place. There's so many different fantastic things you can do, especially in the summer when you're not when you can actually walk around. You don't have to shelter and huddle indoors because of the terrible weather. So there are different things you can do in Queens, Brooklyn, Manhattan. There's a great event in Greenwich Village called the Halloween Parade, and that would be my advice to you, just to check these things out, to see what type of things you can do, or if you're native or you're tourist, it doesn't really matter. It's all good. Anyway, thank you for your time. and I'll be seeing you soon.